The Buffs are now out of bowl contention, but they may have found their quarterback of the future. We'll discuss more.
This is Voice of the Bus, Mark Johnson, and you're listening to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast. It's Sreyas here. I am with Chase and Topher. Jake continues to be on paternity leave for the foreseeable future. Jake, we don't want to complain too much about you, but we're missing you through these tough weeks, man. It's been rough out there. But without further ado, let's address the obvious here. The Buffs are now out of bowl contention, which is something that we are all too used to. I know coming into the season, at least from my perspective, it would have been so nice to finally have back-to-back bowl seasons. That's not something that we've had since 2005, but of course, that's no longer possible. Before we get into some of the positives, because I think there are a number of positives, and I think a lot of Buff Nation saw it, a lot of Buff Nation was talking about it on social media this weekend. Let's talk about our feelings about being out of a bowl game. I don't know, Topher, Chase, was this on your mind lately too? I'll go last in thinking about this, but Chase, how do you feel right now with the kind of end of the playing for wins for the season?
I think at some point I'm just going to take my medicine and watch our preview episode where Topher genuinely, truly believed that we might make the CFP. And I think we all predicted at least like 8 or 9 wins. And since I've been alive, right, like since 2006 or something like that, we haven't won a bowl game. And we've been to very few of them, and almost all of them seem to have been at the Alamo Bowl. So the good news is we're not going to be in the Alamo Bowl. That's the good news. That is the shining star to this season is no Alamo Bowl. But what an incredibly
brutal,
incredibly disappointing season. And I think you're right. Like the cool thing about college basketball is that no matter how bad you are, you could still somehow find a way to run through your conference tournament and get into the big dance, right? Like no one, except for the Big Ten now, right? Where not every team makes the tournament, but
yeah.
In the Big 12, you're not eliminated until the last game of the season, right? Like you could still make the dance. And that's just not true in college football. And, people constantly are saying, oh, well, bowl games are meaningless, but they're not to Colorado fans, right? I think every Colorado fan would agree. And I was just talking to someone today about how fun it is to go to another city and get to experience a new city with other CU fans. And everyone in the town is wearing your colors or the opposing team's colors. And you get to go and celebrate the university in a different town and how fun that is. And we know that experience because all of us here have gone to a bowl game, but we relish that experience because all of us here have gone to a bowl game, right? Yep. I didn't go to the last one. Sreyas did. Topher and I both went to the Alamo Bowl, if I remember correctly. Actually, now that I think about it, Topher might be a fraud and he's never been to a bowl game, but
never been to a bowl game. I went to the Pac-12 championship though.
All right.
Oh yeah. Man, that was fun.
And speaking of kicks in the face. Anyway, so that's the downside, right? It's incredibly disappointing. We all said at the beginning of the season that the bowl game was the absolute floor, and turns out the floor is in hell. So
yeah,
that's kind of the fun part about being a Colorado fan is that no matter how often you think you've hit the floor, it can always get worse. So. Yeah. How's that for an optimistic start, Topher? I don't know if you have something more inspiring to say than that.
No, I really don't. The floor is really in hell. And there's 2 constants in CU football. It's misery and our dumbasses watching. So,
that's true.
As much as this is a letdown, right? Like, this is still a better spot than where we were in 22 and even like in 21. Like the entire Carl Durrell era, we are still objectively in a better spot than we were in the Carl Durrell era. And so, as terrible as the last 2 weeks have felt, This is the best I have felt after a CU loss in a long time. And that was pretty refreshing. And I think after we had lost in such horrific fashion to Utah and Arizona, this conversation of not playing for a bowl was inevitable, right? There was very few realities where the Buffs could turn it around enough to be in bowl contention. So monkeys off, and I called it exactly right. This was a vibey loss, an absolutely vibey loss. So I it sucks, but I feel good because there is hope for a future. There is hope for a future.
That's totally fair. I think, and we'll get into the optimism component of this momentarily, but it is objectively a better place to be in. I mean, we're coming off a solid season, 9 wins, bowl appearance, lost to a deserving playoff contender, BYU, last year. And I mean, we had some really fun games last year. And, we all came into the season predicting way, way better because we saw the pieces that got brought in as replacements and said, well, last year, Shedeur and Travis carried this team to 9 wins. And LeJontay Wester. There were some other pieces, right? Clearly, BJ Green, some really good talent. But then for the most part, there was a lot to be left to be desired in a lot of other spots. And looking at the roster before the season and looking at the schedule, it seemed like there was an opportunity to start fast this season. And it seemed like there was an opportunity to capitalize on some potential easier games. As it turns out, we didn't play Oklahoma State. We didn't play UCF. And we just lost to West Virginia, right? So by that measure, we definitely underestimated the schedule. The first half of the season before the Utah game, we had a top 10 strength of schedule per College Football Reference. And that was brutal. I mean, people even thought BYU was going to be down this year because of Retzloff having to transfer. But they have not missed a beat. I know they got beat pretty bad by Texas Tech, but Texas Tech is that good, right? They have made the NIL investments that they needed to improve their roster in a really tangible way. And frankly, they were coming off a decent season themselves. That was not a bad program or a program that was down by any means. So kind of post-mortem, like already looking at the post-mortem, the schedule side was brutal. The injury side was brutal. And then flat out, we didn't get the performance. We didn't get the execution. We didn't have the outcome from specific players that were brought in to be major difference makers that we needed badly. Maybe expected would be a bridge too far to say, but certainly needed, right? And quarterback being at the top of the list, immense disappointment there, paying an enormous NIL fee for a 4-year starter, FBS starter who had played in a New Year's Six Bowl, just flat out not being competent at times in Boulder. So big time disappointment. I don't need to even share this, but we've gone into the last couple games of the season many times in the past in this position. And even in the times where we've gone in thinking that we could get 6 wins, we found a way to not get 6 wins. It has been so brutal, so brutal. Do you guys, this might even be before you guys remember, but 2008, Alex Henry made a 58-yard field goal with time basically expiring for Nebraska to beat us.
Screw that guy. Mason Crosby's better.
That was my freshman year, right? So that was one of my first. I mean, I watched lots of CU football growing up too, right? But that was where I was a student. I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Sort of deal.
Would you believe I remember that game because
I'm
of that
glad
kick?
you do.
I remember that game. Yeah.
I remember that name. Alex Henry triggers my PTSD because Nebraska's all like, we have the better kicker, and I'm like, no, you don't. Mason's so much better.
Mason already left by then, unfortunately. We had Eric Goodman that season. Shout out to Eric Goodman if you're listening.
But they were saying Alex Henry was going to go further than Mason Crosby. I think Alex Henry made it like a year in the NFL.
Yeah, he played for the Eagles, I think. But then, then everyone, we had Mark Johnson on the pod last year, and we talked about that Kansas game in 2010, how horrible that was. We remember the run with McIntyre, starting off 5-0 and then losing our last 7 games. We remember what happened with Midnight Mel. Like, we just keep going on and on. Like, this was just such a recurring theme of just pain. And this season, we were in a similar boat in 2021 of not playing for anything. And then we got that kind of fluky win against Washington, which was not a 5B win. That was, I think we got outgained like 450 to 190.
What do you mean that wasn't a 5B win? That was a 97-yard scoop and score.
That was sick.
Vibey.
That was sick. Did that leave you feeling inspired for 2022? Let's be real.
The fact that we won left me inspired, right? Like, you go in expecting disaster and we won, right?
Perennial optimist.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's talk about how vibey this win was. Because the big thing, and there's plenty of other takeaways too, but the big thing is we have a quarterback who is 18 years old, just turned 18 a couple months ago, and he can make some ridiculously nice downfield throws. And we have not seen that this season. We saw maybe Staub hit a couple great throws against Delaware, but not the type of throws that we saw Juju Lewis make to, especially to Omarion. That connection is exciting. Like, seeing the chemistry of those two develop, super, super exciting. I want to hear from you guys, though.
Let me read the stats real quick. So 299 yards. What a shame that he didn't just throw one more yard for the Vibes.
With his last throw being a -3-yard throw, by the way.
2 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 55.8. And we can talk about that because I don't think any of us would say that was a perfect performance. But for an 18-year-old making his first start, and I don't, we'll get to that. But on the rushing side, obviously these stats are super messed up by the sacks. Total of negative 39 yards because of the sacks, but a long rush of 14 yards. And I think it was 7 sacks. We'll talk about Juju. I do have to just make a comment. The O-line was terrible, like just genuinely, truly horrible. Definitely the worst, in my opinion, O-line performance of the year. Can't think of one that was much worse.
Who was missing, though? No Jordan Seaton.
Utah was objectively worse.
Yeah, but at least Utah was more talented than West Virginia.
Yeah,
West Virginia looked like the world's greatest defensive line, and they're not. I mean, they're just objectively not.
Jordan Seaton's that guy. We didn't have him. Yeah, who else? We were missing another starter, right? Who am I forgetting? We were missing 2 starters, though. But yeah, that's still.
Long story short, I mean, that was an abysmal performance with a capital A, capital maybe every letter performance. But nonetheless, Juju stepped up, made some big throws, stood in there and made some throws right as he was about to get hit. Obviously that sack statistic doesn't even include pressures. I thought he kept his composure really well, had some moon balls. I was a little surprised. I didn't feel like he was super accurate in short and intermediate. I thought he actually really shined on the long throws. But overall, it's tough to be upset about that performance. I think you were talking about that earlier, Sreyas, about how exciting that is for the future. If we can keep him, right? That's the world we live in college football. The other bit of news that I'll throw in there before, we kind of talk about it, but Rick George yesterday, I think it was officially announced, as if anyone had a doubt about this, that Coach Prime will be back if he chooses to come back next season. Colorado's sticking with him. That shouldn't be controversial. I don't even think that's all that surprising. It did generate a lot of headlines. It popped up on my news as an ESPN push alert. But, Coach Prime will be there. Jordan's got 1 more year at least if he decides to stay. Juju's got, obviously his sophomore year coming up. Bright times ahead in Boulder, at least as far as the quarterback situation is concerned. Topher, Sreyas, any thoughts about Juju specifically and his performance?
He might need to consider getting a haircut because that sack by the hair looked incredibly painful. Oh, I thought it was a face mask for sure watching it live, but in the slow-mo, that was horrible. Juju, the thing that I loved about Juju's game is there were times when he got a little wide-eyed and took a couple sacks, but there were a lot more times that I can distinctly remember where he stepped up in the pocket or stepped away and allowed for the angle for that offensive line to still ride that pass rush out. So I think it was a terrible performance. It could have been a lot worse had Juju just done the Shador and just continued to back up the entire
or the
time.
Caden Salter,
Or the Caden Salter.
run around. And
And the other thing that you notice in his game is when he steps up, he is still having his eyes downfield. And I think that is a very impressive trait to see in an 18-year-old in his first Power 5 start. The future is bright. It was like seeing Luke Skywalker, A New Hope is born. He's the one. He is him. And if I'm Juju, I came for Dion. If Dion can get a good offensive coordinator, I think he'll stay. But this offensive coordinator is now the most important hire of the Coach Prime era. It cannot be overstated how important it is that you absolutely nail this hire. So, a lot of pressure to put there. I liked the fight the boys showed, and I think that was also demonstrated by Juju, right? It felt like we were making some of the same mistakes we've made in the past, but there was more grit, more wherewithal to fight back. They were playing hard, and I think it started from the head. I think Juju showed that he played hard, and it mattered to him, and I just really, really love that about his game.
And I'm just gonna, maybe I can even pull up the play, but my favorite play was on that last drive before we kicked the field goal. There's the play where it breaks down and he kind of flips the ball. Some would say Mahomes-esque, and I actually have the play here, so I'll play it real quick. Hopefully we don't get a copyright ban or something stupid, but and I think it's hard to believe, but Caden Salter, who is literally a senior quarterback, does not make plays like this. So if you watch it, he steps up and then flips it over and we get the first down, right? We've seen that from Caden, where Caden would have found a way to screw that up. I don't know how. Actually, I do know how. He probably would have taken a sack or something bad, but you don't have any time. You're fighting for a chance to get back in this game, and you find a way to make something out of nothing, right? That's Mahomes-esque. That's not Raiola-esque, no matter how bad Nebraska fans want him to be Patrick Mahomes. But those are things that were really impressive to me for a true freshman 18-year-old quarterback. The deep balls are great, stuff like that, but having the game knowledge and the football IQ to step up into the pocket, run forward, and instead of just running and trying to get the first down, flipping it over to a guy that can get out of bounds, that was awesome, right? So I know it wasn't the result we wanted, but watching back the film, and for the record, I did have to watch the film. For those of you who don't know, I went and, because I'm a sicko, had the chance to go to the North Dakota State football game this weekend. So I flew up to Grand Forks, North Dakota, caught the game there with my dad. They lost. We cheered for North Dakota. Penn State, my other team, lost in heartbreaking status. Colorado lost. And then I went to the Vikings game with my dad, and they lost. So quite the weekend of football for me.
That sucks.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess I could be happy for the other Bison in the former North Dakota State. But, watching that back in the film, obviously kind of knowing what the result is, maybe I was able to take it more optimistically. But I think, it really hurts. This one really hurts because we lost the bowl game. But if you believe in the future and you believe that Coach Prime's coming back and you believe we can keep these guys, which are things that you used to be able to take for granted in college football and you can't anymore, I really do think this was a step in the right direction. And I'm really glad Juju got a start this year because I think that'll really benefit him moving forward, especially because he won't have a bowl game to play in, right? So
maybe this is just a cope. No, it's definitely just a cope.
It's
definitely just a cope. But losing the way that we have in the second half of the season has left no doubt that major changes are required. And in some ways, you could make an argument, as much as it hurts as a CU fan to have back-to-back no bowl seasons. it does give some positive mentality as a fan that, hey, changes have to happen now. The school has already shown much more of a commitment to fielding a competitive football team. And this was obviously a huge step back this year they were competitive in the first half, which was good. And they left some wins out there, which is, painful, but they were competitive in games, and then they weren't competitive in a couple games. But the school, by and large, has shown a willingness and a desire to compete at the highest level of football, which they hadn't for decades before this. And I expect that this will be taken seriously. Coach Prime, with his health issues, thank goodness he's been able to take care of those, at least the ones that were acknowledged. And now he'll have the opportunity to spend an entire spring with the team and not be dealing with some major, terrifying health issues like bladder cancer and blood clots. So hitting rock bottom in that sense is positive, especially because of what we saw from Juju Lewis. You guys have already beat this to death, but man, that connection that he had with Omarion Miller on numerous occasions, just dropping it right in the bread basket. There were a couple plays to Sincere Brown where he dropped it right in the bread basket, but then it got overturned for various reasons. I think one was a kind of a weird OPI call, but Sincere Brown also took himself out of bounds. But that was a great throw and a great catch. It was just a little bit, the timing was a little bit off, and there was a weird call made. That happened a couple of times too. But what I do want to pick on, and I don't think this is not necessarily just a Juju Lewis problem. It might be primarily an offensive line problem, is 7 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections. So think about that. That means on 23 dropbacks, you either had the ball batted straight down, loss of down, obviously, right? Or you lost yardage on the play. That, if you guys remember when we were talking about Shedeur at the beginning of the season and the impact that he made, that was very similar to the adversity that he faced for 2 years. 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, right? 2nd and 20. And then not to mention the penalties. This was another kind of bad penalty game for the Buffs. 6 penalties for 60 yards. So not as bad as it was against Arizona, but still not a great penalty game. And there were a number of holding calls made too. That's a lot of adversity. That is a lot of adversity. And he got off to a really bad start. I think, what was he, one of his first 7 or something? Like it was a really rough start to the game for Juju, but he hung in there. And he made some big time throws. Now the pass deflections, this is actually really funny timing because I just came across a Jake Plummer reel on Instagram earlier today.
What a pull.
Yeah. So Jake Plummer, people were asking, or it might have been with Nate Jackson or some other local personality, asking Jake Plummer why Bo Nix gets so many passes batted down. And it was fascinating because Jake Plummer had an answer, like a quick answer, which is if you, as a quarterback, lock eyes with your receiver and you stare down the receiver, the linemen are taught to immediately throw their hands up in the air and use that as an opportunity to bat the pass down. I have to go back and watch the film. You guys will have to tell me if that was what was happening, but 8 pass deflections is a lot. It does make you wonder whether there's something coachable and something easily correctable there that could turn those 8 pass deflections into completions. And man, with the way that he throws the ball, that could be 14 points on the board, maybe more. I mean, 8 pass deflections, that is a lot. That is an absurdly high number. For comparison, the Buffs defense only had 3 in this game. So the fact that he faced that level of adversity, first college start in a Power 4 environment. West Virginia, we talked about them. They had struggles in the middle of the season. They got blown out by UCF. They got blown out by a lot of the teams they played. They also beat Pitt. I get it's a big rivalry game. Rivalry games can be coin flips no matter what the respective teams' records are. I mean, Michigan beat Ohio State last year. But still, that is a Pitt team that is contending for a playoff berth right now. Like they're 3rd in the ACC, and West Virginia beat them.
And West Virginia is also playing for a bowl game, right? They're 4-6 now. So,
yep.
I mean, they had a lot on the table too that they were fighting for.
And with that, Yeah, I think we hit on this last week too. Like Rich Rod, I think is going to turn that program around at some point, and he's had success there before. He was their head coach when they had Steve Slayton and Pat White and all those studs back in the mid 2000s. I mean, they were a legit national championship contender a couple of years. Little do people remember now, that was 20 years ago, but that was the same coach that they have now. And so, sure, I'm sure West Virginia fans were feeling down in the middle of the season. Totally understandable. Getting blown up at UCF is no good with where that program is right now. But they've seemed to have found something, and they've turned it around. And with where we're at, obviously, like that hurts for us. But from the bigger picture perspective, like that was a West Virginia team that has done something this year, and they seem to be trending in the right direction. So certainly, this is a lot of words to say. I totally agree that things are headed in the right direction, and where we go next here is going to be really, really important to what this program looks like. Not even just next year, but moving forward. I know our biggest fear is to go back to the precipice that we were on in 2022, which is, why are we playing football? Why does this program even have a Power 5, Power 4 football team? This doesn't make sense. They're not showing the commitment to it, and they have nothing but a death spiral ahead of them because they can't recruit, they can't coach, they can't do anything. And so, painful down season, but as long as these things are trending in the right direction, I think we can feel better about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna propose something different. I think I'm gonna run into the Q Wealth Management Player of the Game segment, which I picked unilaterally on my own because we forgot to do it before pressing record, and then from that we could proceed immediately into defense. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Just kind of made that decision. So the other podcasters here are learning the Q Wealth Management Players of the Game as I announce them. Pretty exciting. This is also the point where we're going to remind, please subscribe and like. If you could subscribe to us on YouTube in particular. We always forget to mention this until the very end of the episode when everyone's clicked away. But with that being said, Q Wealth Management Player of the Game on offense, it has to be Juju, no question. I don't think that's controversial whatsoever. I do think defense might be controversial. We can come back to it. But Jake and I, who rarely agree on anything when it comes to Colorado football, are both in agreement that Preston Hodge has really, I think he's the most improved player on the team by a substantial margin. I think he has really turned his season around, had an interception this game. Obviously I was only watching the highlights, but it didn't feel like he had a particularly bad game in coverage. And I thought about John Slaughter here as well. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on that are. But speaking of a kid who really, I don't even think he was a starter at the beginning of the season, has been a fairly big contributor. On special teams, I'm giving it to Damon Greaves unenthusiastically, and that's because Mata had a missed PAT. Otherwise, he's always our
and
guy.
A banked one.
And I literally don't know who else could possibly be deserving. So certainly not. They tried something different on punt return, and we averaged 1.5 yards. So not feeling like that's going to be Q Wealth Management quality. Go to qwealthmanagement.com to learn more for quality financial advising, because that's the level of standard and high quality that we expect when we name the prestigious qwealthmanagement.com award winner every week. Huge thanks to Q Wealth Management for their second year sponsoring the podcast. So, fellas, what are your thoughts, feedback on that? I think that's probably a perfect pick, in my opinion, but you guys didn't get to weigh in on it.
I would have loved to see Omarion considered for Offensive Player of the Week, because, I don't know, he finally looked like the best wide receiver on the field and in college football this week with a quarterback that gave him the ball. And I understand that, quarterback's got to give him a chance, but he looked good. He had that one where he almost got that one-hand catch in the end zone. Had he pulled that down, oh, my goodness.
What a week for catches, by the way. You
Yeah.
that Indiana catch?
Oh, my God.
Believe me, Sreyas, I saw the Indiana catch.
Yeah, you did. Forgot.
And we didn't read the stats earlier, but Omarion Miller, 6 receptions, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Should have been 2. JoJo Williams, 3 receptions, 64 yards. He had a great game as well and a great touchdown. Draylon Miller with 4 receptions, 37 yards. And then Sincere Brown, I'll shout out, 2 receptions, 27 yards, a long one 19-yard reception. He's been kind of a disappointment in my opinion
Poor
this season.
I feel like there have been so many yards and big plays that he's had that have been overturned. I feel terrible for him. He had that 75-yarder overturned last week. He had, that OPI this week. It's sad because like the numbers this season look very pedestrian, but the potential is there, and it's just too bad. It just shows you it's a game of inches, right?
And I'm going to throw out there on the rushing side, because we didn't touch on this earlier. Dallin Hayden had one great run of 24 yards. Unfortunately, had 10 carries and a total of 34 yards. So other than that one really nice run, he's really, not been inspiring necessarily. But Draylon Miller came back, had a nice game, 10 carries, 42 yards. Nothing particularly inspiring. I think he had 1 yard of over 10 or 1 carry of over 10 yards. But otherwise, kind of just ground and pound. Certainly can't say that we didn't try to establish the run, with actual running backs, 26 total carries that game. But right now we're talking defense. So overall, I get West Virginia was playing a true freshman quarterback. They did not kill us where I expected them to kill us. Scotty Fox still ran, and obviously this includes sacks, but 17 carries, 58 yards. And then Hubbard, 16 carries, 64 yards.
Shout out to Hubbard. I thought that he was out for the season after that, seeing that injury on the first drive. The fact that he came in and he still is running the ball hard was so impressive to me. Shout out to him. What a stud.
I get that they pretty much only ran the fourth quarter, or didn't only run, but like that's what they did predominantly in the fourth quarter. But we still gave up 167 rushing yards, including when sacks are
only 3.2 yards per play though. That's not one of our worst running defense games.
We forced the guy to throw back-to-back picks, and then West Virginia's like, all right, we're just not going to throw the ball anymore. So what's frustrating to me is the fact that like we got them to be one-dimensional and still lost. That sucks. That feels really demoralizing. Like we just didn't have the linebacker gap filling, the sure tackleness to get the run stops we needed down the stretch to win the game. But I will say the defense did look improved compared to previous weeks, and it's almost like when they get a little break, when offense can sustain some drives, they're a little bit fresher down the stretch, and I think that really made a difference.
Man, you're taking a page right out of my book, Topher. I think at least 2 pods now, I've said there's nothing that'll make a bad defense look worse than a bad offense that just keeps them out there to get beat up. And that's what happened against Arizona, right? Obviously, terrible defense we had. And the offense just kept them out there over and over and over again.
On short fields. We won, I think we won possession time, right? Against Arizona, just because they had short field so many times. It's like, hey, defense, you're just going to have like 20 yards to defend. Good luck.
Here's a blast from the past. Since we're never going to let go of hell, I'm never going to let go of hell. I'm going to be talking about some of these terrible losses.
We should get RK. We should get RK on this.
We need to get RK.
Make him explain why we should let go of hell.
Yeah, defend that take, RK, please.
I thought I saw him tweet that he hasn't let go of hell either at this point. He's like, we've let go of hell, but hell hasn't let go of us. But what I was getting at is in 2012, we played Oregon, and in that game, we were down 56-0 at half, and we had more time of possession. That's because Oregon would get the ball, and it would be like 30-yard run, 25-yard run, touchdown. Okay, now we get the ball. 3 and out, punt. 30-yard run, 25-yard run, touchdown. 3 and out, punt. 30-yard run. Over and over and over again. So, yeah, that time of possession metric can be really, really deceiving. That's the one that comes to mind.
I'm just gonna put this out there. Hubbard is a stud. Like he is going to be in the NFL, and he's a true receiving back. 94 yards receiving, and I know that that's inflated by his 69-yard reception, but true like multi-dimensional back, 16 carries, 64 yards. That's the kind of guy that's gonna play on Sundays, and he's a true freshman.
Redshirt freshman. But yes.
A redshirt freshman. If he stays at West Virginia, and I hope Penn State watches the highlight tape of that and says we need to give that kid a bag and get him out of the Big 12. But if he stays, I mean, he's going to be a star. So And I thought Scotty Fox looked pretty good too. So West Virginia's, like you said, Rich Rod. And people forget Pat McAfee played on a Rich Rodriguez West Virginia team. So
yes, he did.
Hey, pretty much.
Talk about CU connections. This I don't know how many people out there know this, but in 2008, when West Virginia came to Folsom Field and we beat them, Pat McAfee missed a field goal. I think it was a 29-yard field goal in overtime that would have given West Virginia the lead. And then CU made a field goal to beat them. Wow. That was Pat McAfee. Go back and watch the tape, guys. That was Pat McAfee. He was the one who missed that field goal.
Sreyas is the only person on earth who remembers that.
Maybe that's why he does the kicking competition now. Make everybody else relive his trauma.
and then he was a punter in the NFL. Go figure.
I am going to take down the QWealthManagement.com sponsored segment, but one last shout out to QWealthManagement.com for their sponsorship of this segment. So,
I also want to argue Tawfiq Bayard needs to have his praises sung.
About it, but we've given it to him too many times.
He only played one half. The stats you are seeing, one half.
But why did he only play one half?
Because he tackles too hard.
Correct. And because
you are punishing someone for being good at football.
I'm not. Our sponsor expects excellence.
Shout out to Tawfiq Bayard for getting a targeting call in a game that was 52-14. Shout out to him. That's a guy that cares. He has not quit. We know he hasn't quit. He's a dog. He is a dog. We need to do whatever it takes to keep him.
Buffalo Award.
Tawfiq Bayard. Yeah, without a doubt.
No question.
And Slaughter owes his pick to Tawfiq Bayard because he caused that pressure to float that. Like, great complimentary football, way to make an instant impact. Okay, we can move on now.
Yeah. So, going into second bye week, this has got to be a tough time to be in that locker room. Going into the other bye week, there had to be some optimism. So we came off that win against Iowa State. Iowa State was ranked at the time. Of course, Iowa State has since faltered a little bit, although they did beat TCU this week to get below. Shout out to them. But this is an all too familiar position for the program, but maybe not for the players, right? The folks that were here last year were not in this position. Even the folks 2 years ago. So we went into game number 10 a couple years ago with still an opportunity to make it to a bowl game. And we took Arizona to the ropes that year. I mean, that was a 10-win Arizona team. And we had the lead for the vast majority of that game until the walk-off field goal at the very end. So we were right there in it. And then, of course, we went to Washington State and got absolutely eviscerated. Shador got hurt. And then Staub played against Utah. We had Travis Hunter get a couple touchdowns called back, and the rest was history. Ended up 4-8. But we still had that opportunity, and we don't have that opportunity this year. So we have ASU on the 22nd, and then we have Kansas State to end the season on the 29th. 2 games left. What do you guys want to see in these final 2 games in order to feel like there's at least something to move forward with here and not, next season? I know we've already established what some of those things are, but I want to hear it again. Like, what are those optimistic pieces versus next year? Kind of going to the offseason like, oh, God, this is going to be a disaster. Chase, go ahead.
See, I think a lot of our problems are going to have to be solved by getting talent and off-season things, right? Like the defense is not something in my mind that can be fixed at this point, right? And I don't foresee a lot of silver lining on that. I think that's a talent issue. I think that's a coaching issue, and I don't think Coach Prime's going to move on from Livingston this year. So on the defensive side, I really don't know that there's anything. I want to make sure that I want to see them not quit, right? And it's not enough to just have Bayard out there balling out and everyone else kind of going through the motions. But in my mind, really the reason for the season, the thing that we're out here watching is, and I'm glad I get to go first, it's all about Juju. This is all about Juju at this point. It's about making sure Juju sees how he fits in our system, making sure Juju stays happy, and making sure that Juju is ready to come back and be the quarterback of the future in another year with Coach Prime, locked and loaded, ready to go. And hopefully this is an off season where where Coach Prime has less distractions from the health crisis, the health issues, and a lot of things. But really, I want to see a team that doesn't quit. I want to see a team that plays hard for their seniors for this Arizona State game that we're about to preview here shortly. But you're right. I mean, there's not a whole lot to play for when you don't have a bowl game anymore, right? So I hope they play hard for the seniors that are not, on the football team. I hope they play hard for the seniors that are students in the stands going to their last home football game. Not this week, but next week. But that's what I'm really looking for. I'm pretty downbeat about the rest of the season, to be honest. And we care, right? Like, we care enough to run a podcast, and we apologize for not recording last night due to some flight issues. We had to postpone. So we appreciate everyone's patience on the episode, but it's tough. I mean, it's so deflating every year to get your hopes up and to be in this position. But I think we can have some silver linings. The last thing I'm going to say, though, I want to see our Ralphie continue to have a great season and keep running hard. So I hope she stays healthy. I hope the weather's cooperative. I think it's supposed to be pretty good. Obviously, in Colorado, you really never know till the day of. But that's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to keep watching. But, this season it just is what it is. And it's disappointing. And I think looking back on it, there's things that we could have done to at least get to those 6 wins. But hopefully we can learn from those. And that's water under the bridge. They find a way to get a win. Unfortunately, I think it's more likely than not that it's going to be a 3-9 season for this team.
No faith. Listen, I want to see the young guns out there a lot. I want to see us find a diamond in the rough. London Merritt is a diamond in the rough. London Merritt is going to play on Sundays. He looks amazing. Alexander McPherson, he looked awesome. If as soon as he's healthy, we got to get him back out there. And I want us to showcase the freshmen that we've gone and recruited. And I want to do that for 2 reasons. Number 1, see what we got. But number 2, show the recruits that we're talking to in high school, hey, if you come and play here, right, like, these are freshmen that are making plays for us. And yeah, it's a down season, but if you can play, you can play. And we want dogs on this team. So I'm really looking for guys who are going to make plays, and I want us to not only be competitive, but be in positions to win against both teams, Arizona State and Kansas State. Now, whether or not we do, we'll see. But here's the thing. In Juju's entire football career, he's not used to losing. And you saw the video of him. This mattered to him. He wanted to win. And I don't think he takes to losing very well. And I think if he's taking snaps, he's also going to be like, hey, guys, I don't care we're not playing for a bowl. We're not losing. Like, this is a pride thing. We are going to go and play hard and do it right and do it the right, correct way. And so that's what I'm looking for.
And Juju has already come out and said that he's ready to play two more games. And the implication there is red shirt's gone. And I understand from his perspective perfectly well why he wants to do that. Because he sees himself as a 3-year player before he goes to the NFL, right? That's the mentality you need to have. Even if it doesn't pan out that way, that's the mentality you need to have. Like, make the most of your opportunities and just go out there and do it. I know this is the era of kids playing 6 years, 7 years, whatever, from this red shirt and then another medical red shirt, and then you went on a Mormon mission for a couple of years, then you came back and you're gone for a decade. But I love the mentality of just put me in there, coach. Like, I want to play. I'm ready. And that's what I want to see. I know that's going to be controversial. When he comes out there against Kansas State, people are going to immediately excoriate Coach Prime for burning his red shirt and wasting his time and his talent, just like they excoriated Dan Hawkins for pulling Tyler Hansen's red shirt. It's a different era now, though. If you don't give him that opportunity, he's going to seek it out somewhere else.
And Coach Hawkins was right to burn that red shirt.
Yeah, Tyler Hansen. Hey, I know Tyler Hansen follows us on Twitter, so if he sees this, shout out to Tyler Hansen. He gave us some great years. He's a great
one of the goats. Yeah.
So I want to see Juju just go in there. I want to see some of those things that we talked about. I want to see continued great downfield passing. I want to see less pass deflections. I want to see better O-line play in front of him. Hopefully having Jordan Seaton back will help. Still hasn't – was it Larry Johnson III who was out too? There was another key offensive lineman that was missing from that game. So that's what I want to see for sure. Just more Juju action, and anything else that we get, wins, losses, it is what it is at this point. We've been here before, guys. So before we continue on, let's also talk about another elephant in the room, which is another painful clock management.
We have to talk about this again. Cannot believe that this is another conversation. And I think this might be the most egregious so far. Chase, I know you only watched the highlights, but
it was bad. It was really bad.
This is like, if Coach Prime didn't have the buyouts that he had, I would say this is a fireable offense.
It was bad.
It literally, like, if you're down 2 possessions under 2 minutes and you don't get it on third down, you need to have made the decision before that play ends if you are kicking or going for it. You can't burn any of your 3 timeouts because it's a 2-possession game. We burned a timeout. There was 21 seconds still on the play clock. Is 21 seconds enough time to get a field goal unit out there? Absolutely.
If you think I'm surprised, and I actually did see that, the timeout. They're upset because in our private chat that we coordinate our podcast on, I said we've murdered this topic this season, so we have to keep it short. But I mean, it's not surprising, right? It's just it's incessant.
It is what it is. We know what we're getting with this.
We
need a clock management.
This is unforgivable. This is unforgivable.
That you have to go get a doctorate in clock management because everyone knows. Like everyone who
it
watches
forces you to do an onside kick after that. Because if you have your 3 timeouts, you can kick it deep and try to get a stop on that side of the field. So maybe you have a shorter field to go get whatever touchdown that you need with the clock. Because you made this is so simple. This is so simple, and I cannot believe.
Did anyone ask Coach about that?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember anyone asking about it. I almost wonder whether people are afraid to ask because
he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it when you question his clock management. And I think this is the biggest criticism I've had for Coach Prime is that he'll take accountability for the product on the field, and he will take accountability to directed at me, directed out not at my coordinators. I have to get them more prepared. Coach, you have to be more prepared. You have to understand your mistakes, and you have to understand why they are mistakes. The biggest concern is the fact that you can't even admit that they are mistakes.
Yeah.
So part of this big change this offseason, I hope there's got to be a clock management analyst on this on the staff.
I even understand why when we won the toss, he took the ball this time. Get Juju out there, right? Like that's what you're playing for. Get him out there. Just put him on the field. Let him get his lumps, take his lumps, and that's exactly what happened, right? I didn't even fault him. I don't even fault that decision. But it boggles the mind because you only have one way to stop the clock after 2 minutes. Timeouts, right? One way. You
on defense, yeah.
And it was true. That was actually a great use of a great second half game management to not have to use any timeouts up to that point. But you're under 2 minutes.
That is the expectation. That is the expectation. Look, we should not be celebrating that. You should always have your 3 timeouts.
Right.
It's like fumbling before the goal line. Like, congrats. That's exactly what we just did with the timeouts. We were in open field. And we dropped the ball before the goal line. That's how Coach Prime used his timeouts.
It was a bad spot to go.
I also want to point out, Draylon Miller getting out of bounds before the first down.
Oh my God, that's just lack of field awareness.
But he can't even claim lack of field awareness. You know why? Because you can see his eyes directly looking at the first down marker before he ran out of bounds. That is just such low football IQ. It boils my blood.
You guys remember when
boils my blood?
You guys remember when Montez did that?
Yes. Oh my God. Every single time. It pissed me off. I'm like, you need to be more like Cepho that don't care about your health and just lower your shoulder and run over somebody. But Steven Montez would get a whiff of maybe a big hit and he'd go I got to protect the ball.
Yep. Slide 3 yards short of the first down, even though he could have gotten 10.
Anyways, the Draylon running short forced us to then run a play up the middle. They again got the clock running. So like this is also just complimentary football of like if you just have awareness, it just puts us in better position. And that all comes back on coaching.
We talked about this earlier this season, but as a head coach, there's not a ton, especially if you're not calling plays, there's not a ton you actually do on the day of the game, right? Like you're a motivator. Coach Prime's the best motivator, like the absolute best motivator, like on and off the field, like such an inspiring figure, right? But in terms of your actual direct impact on the game and giving your team the best opportunity to win, clock management is what you got to do. And being aggressive, like honestly, analytics-based aggressive coaching. And on that note, that's the perfect time to talk about it. ASU, who has a head coach that 100% does that every single time.
Wow. What a great transition to get us off of the hell that is timeout management, the topic. Arizona State, our opponent, which I'm assuming means we will not do a bye-week episode. We always promise one and then we don't do one. So maybe expect that we won't. And then if we happen to...
Hey, we'll talk about basketball. Maybe we can actually force Jake
back. Yeah, that sounds desirable and fun.
Big Sky champions, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, now, that's going to be Northern Colorado. You got to go through Greeley, buddy.
Hey,
we had Arizona State as one of our scarier opponents at the beginning of the season. They have not necessarily shaped up to be so. They're 6-3 thus far. But they are, the line's not out for the game, or at least I haven't been able to find it. But they have to play the absolute nightmare that is West Virginia before they have to play us. So we'll have a common opponent in that. They get West Virginia at home, however. So Arizona State coming in, it'll be our senior night for the fellas. Arizona State is, by the way, a heavy favorite over West Virginia in that game. So not sure what we want to take from that. But Jordan Tyson is playing his last game in Folsom Field, almost assuredly, right? He's a junior, but he'll definitely go to the league, or it's hard to imagine that he won't. What do you guys got? I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably going to be about a 6.5 point spread, if not more. I alluded to this earlier. I just don't have faith at this point. I don't see them finding a win. I think Juju is going to play hard. I think Arizona State's a really good team, and I think Arizona State is going to outcoach us significantly, and I think that's going to make a difference. I think Ralphie gets to the 50-yard line, and the Arizona State defense spends 90% of their time keeping us on our side of the 50-yard line. I see this one as a loss, probably a pretty ugly one. I'm going to call it 27-7 Arizona State win.
That's not very good.
I think the defense for Arizona State is a lot better than the defense we just played in Morgantown, Topher. So you're welcome to take whatever you want on that. We do have an entire week to prepare for this, which is why I'm so confident it's going to be worse than if we were just going in there blind.
Here's what makes it worse, Chase. Who is ASU's quarterback? Jeff Sims. Buffs legend. Jeff Sims. This is going to be the Jeff Sims legacy game where he exercises his demons that he left when Nebraska came here in 2023. And he's just going to run all over us probably, right? Looking back at
he had 228 rushing yards against Iowa State, by the way, if people are wondering. Jeff Sims had 177 yards passing, 228 yards rushing. And Topher thinks our defense is going to – yikes.
What's impressive about that is Jordan Tyson did not have a catch in that game. Was he hurt? Did he play in that game? I don't know. I didn't watch.
I don't think he's playing the rest of this season.
Oh, is he out?
I think he got hurt, but then Sam Levitt's not coming back. So he was kind of like, I'm probably going to the NFL. So I don't know if he's officially decided to keep playing, but I hope we see him.
he's had such a injury-prone career. I think that was one
I
of
hope
the
we
reasons.
do not see him. Why do you hope we see him, too?
He was fun to watch.
He is fun to cheer for.
He had that punt return in 2022 against ASU.
He was the only one that looked worth a damn against Oregon, right? Like,
yeah,
he was. I was so convinced he was going to transfer to Oregon. Like, this was his tryout tape against Oregon.
I'm not saying he's not
Nico
talented.
Reed.
I'm saying I don't want to see him play against my team.
Yeah. At this point, I just want to have some fun. But it does seem unlikely. You know, as everyone knows here, Jordan struggled with injuries his whole career. That was the reason, one of the biggest reasons why he didn't come back, is recovering from the torn ACL. And clearly there being some roster slot issues as far as bringing in some of the folks that Coach Prime did. That definitely led to his transfer. But he had a hell of a career, super impressive player. Hopefully, I'll agree with Topher. Hopefully it's not the last we've seen of him. He's immensely talented. I'm sure we'll see him in the NFL. And I don't know about you guys, but I celebrate Christian Gonzalez. I know he's a Duck, and everyone thinks of him as a Duck, but he gave us some good years in Boulder, and we had some good memories.
Looks better in black and gold.
Yeah. Including in that win against Washington that we were just talking about that wasn't vibey, that I said wasn't vibey. I think he had a big pick in that game, if I recall correctly. So I'll celebrate him the same way, celebrate the other former Buffs who left. But this is going to be the Jeff Sims legacy game. I can see it. I can see him just wanting to come in there and exercise those demons that he left running over us. But what I do hope is, even though I see the writing on the wall as far as giving up lots of points, I would be disappointed with only putting up 7. I want to see Juju come out there and sling it a little bit and give us some hope. And just because I feel like I've been an optimistic predictor other than the West Virginia game, I want to see like 21 points from the Buffs. Now I think ASU probably scores like 42. About 42-21 get doubled up, but hey, 21 points would be nice.
Folsom Magic, come on, Sreyas, you gotta.
Hey, Folsom Magic to get 21 points against a pretty decent ASU team overall. Who's injury ravaged, but I'd be happy with seeing some points up. Topher, what you got?
You guys are clearly way lower on where the program's at than where I'm at. I came out of Saturday going, okay, we got ourselves a quarterback. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt it in my soul. We are exercising the demons that have plagued this team. Bad quarterback, gone. Bad offensive coordinator. Somehow he's still hanging around, but you could feel him start to just get excised, like just leaving your system. You know? We looked like there was a threat to attack the middle of the field. We had a guy that could get the deep ball down there. We had a defense that was suddenly making some plays. We have a bye week. We're going to have both our tackles coming back. We're going to have a quarterback that's not going to leave campus. He's going to watch film religiously, and he's a winner. He is an absolute winner. So, you can coach all you want, but there's no way you can account for Jeff Sims' 4 turnovers he's going to have against us. This dude fumbled a snap from under center, right? Let's not forget, fumbled a snap from under center. This is who he is. This is how he's built. This is his whole career. He is turnover prone, okay? 3 or 4 turnovers from Jeff Sims and a couple of great touchdowns from Juju. Give me the Buffs and a high-scoring 31-28 victory.
Hey, once again, Topher, I hope you're right. So you were right that we would get killed by Arizona. You were right that it was a vibey loss against West Virginia, and I hope you're right again.
I'm on a hot streak right now, boys. Give me the dice. Let's go to Vegas.
All right. Well, on that, I am going to just throw this out there. I will not be able to make the game, but I do have 2 tickets right next to Believer Topher. And if you are someone listening to our podcast still here at 59 minutes and would be interested in those tickets, I will send them to, we'll probably randomly pick someone who emails us at Folsom Frenzy Podcast at, is that the email? Folsom Frenzy Podcast at gmail.com. If you're interested, all I ask is that you make a $5 donation to the JDRF Junior Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and I'll send you the tickets, and you can watch the game with Topher and Sreyas when we hopefully beat Arizona State. So shoot us an email if you're interested in those tickets, and we appreciate everyone for listening. I think that's all we got for this episode. Don't suspect we're going to do a bye-week episode, but you never know. Who knows? Maybe we'll find inspiration. But until then, Sco Buffs.
Sco Buffs, baby. Buffs.